everybody told me this was coming. When I say everybody, I mean everybody told me this was coming. They like, look, check it out. Like it's good now, but now you're gonna have to figure something else out. And I'm like, no, they ain't gonna do me like that. Well, they did me like that. So Brandon and the Democratic Party, they are dropping a lot of money on the streets of Chicago for the non-for-profits. And so now what he's doing is putting money on the streets for the non-for-profits. And so now you're going to see a big change in the narrative for Brandon because, the money is moving. So I knew that they were going to try to do it because I was like, hey, like,
So
what's going on?
they said that your organization can no longer utilize the church because of what?
I just told you. Now they didn't tell me that it was gonna be like this, and I don't want to like trash these people because at the
No,
end
I
of the
think
day,
it's
I
not.
know
Honestly, let me.
it's so that it's said. That's it. But the non-for-profit world is the
Move a little
non-for-profit
bit
world.
over to the center of the camera.
So anyway, so I knew that this non-for-profit money was about to drop. We got FEMA money right now. It's like over $1 billion on the streets. And I know, or I don't know for a fact, it is alleged, and I can feel it in my soul, that the Democratic Party has dropped a lot of money in Chicago because the blue wall is dead. And so what they're trying to do now is shore up these non-for-profits in order for them to kind of, steer their people back toward the Democratic Party. So with this bond, remember the bond deal they were talking about, the $830 million bond deal that's going to be $1.2 billion or $2 billion once we repay it. For that deal, they said it was an infrastructure grant. However, if you read the narrative of the bond, it specifically states that this money is going to be going to non-for-profits. So now the Democratic Party, with the help of Brandon Johnson, has created an $830 million economy right now out of thin air. So as we're getting this Chicago Red movement together, I just share with my people, we must understand that we are now competing against an $830 million budget. We are also looking at money that was sent here from HUD and FEMA. That was $643 million, something like that. I went to that one. I don't know if I sent you the picture, Dana, but it was like all the people from our neighborhood, and they were holding this big old FEMA check, and I went and got in a picture with them. So I'm in this picture with Brandon Johnson, which is why people say, oh, P-Ray's with Brandon. No, we live in the same neighborhood, but again, I digress. So you got the FEMA money that just dropped. So with the the 830 million plus the 643 million of FEMA money, that's over $1 billion of economy that's currently moving through the non-for-profit community. So that's the reason. That's what I feel the reason is anyway. And it's okay because I don't have that money for them. We just gotta make it move differently now.
Where the fuck he get this FEMA money from? Because Doge is cutting everyone. Now, this is the question. Doge cutting everything, and I'm about to pull up this thing to share with you. Is this the money that Trump was trying to stop from being sent out, and a judge denied Trump and saying this money was already assigned for, so you got to let it go out? Where's this billions of dollars FEMA money coming from?
So it's actually HUD and FEMA money because 2 summers ago, this is what I believe. This has not been proven, but if I ever speak to Kash Patel and Pam Bondi, they got to come check this out. So Chicago has a system of tunnels underneath the city that allows the water to drain in and out during rain or flooding or something like that. We spent millions of dollars on it. Well, the weekend of the NASCAR race, we had a rainstorm, and somehow or another, all of the water got pushed to the west side of Chicago. It was so much water coming out the ground here, y'all, that the sewer caps had popped out into the air and water was shooting up. I had about 4 feet of water in my basement. Everybody had water in their basements. Well, now they're saying that they're going to give us relief money for this flood that happened 2 years ago. So now everybody's getting a new basement. Everybody's getting a hot water tank, a new furnace, and a bar put in their basement. Again, this is ways for the Democratic Party to come back and try to buy us back. I'm telling you, I figured out the whole shebang. And that's why, Dana, I got to be very careful because when you figure out these things very quickly and you're the first one to figure it out, there are people who get upset. And they are upset that you're talking to the people about what's going on. So yeah, that's what's going on. New basements and non-for-profit money on the west side of Chicago.
Now, have you ever thought about, because you are non for profit, correct?
Yes, well, we're 501c4. That is a political action committee.
Can you guys apply for a grant?
We probably could. I don't know. I've never looked at those into those things. For me, like non for profits are cool. Don't get me wrong. We need people to do the business of the business. However, within our community, we have too many non for profits. So in the city of Chicago, only 47% of the people pay taxes. That means the other 53% are not paying taxes, but they are still thriving in the city. Excuse me. That's because they're getting program checks. Everybody is in the program. You get 2,500 here, 500 there. You kind of piece it together with what you're getting, and now you are getting stipends. That are not taxed, even though they're supposed to file tax at the end of the year, and they do, and then they get all this refund money back. But they are not getting benefits. They're not building Social Security quarters. They're not paying into any of these things. So I think that as a people, as a race, we got to move away from the non-for-profit world and get back into the capitalist society. Because what happens is if you are depending on these grants all the time, then you have to follow the political system that's giving you the grants. That's what's happening here in Chicago. I'm telling you, I figured it all out. I'm like, I got to retool Chicago Red completely because I can't compete against this economy. Even if I go and I'm like Brandon bogus, he gave the money to the illegals, they put measles in the schools, so on and so forth. I still don't have $830 million to give people in program checks. And the program checks are about to start flooding the streets right now based on the ways that they spent this money. Now, to your question, where did the FEMA money come from? That actually came from Jim Crow Joe. Right before Joe left office, he sent that money to Chicago. So that's why I told you I went to the meeting. I went to the press conference where HUD, the city, that's why Brandon was there. He was looking at me like, why is P right here? I have this red dress. And they were like, who? They were like, who brought her? I'm like, I live over here too. Y'all having the press conference. I'm P Ray. Of course I'm here. I digress. You had the feds, you had the state, you had the county. Everybody was there, and we held this big old check as a community for $640 million. When that money dropped, I said, this is about to get a little tricky. This is about to get very tricky, but it's really interesting because when FEMA came to Chicago, they came to see me, P-Ray. They came, they called Chicago and was like, yo, who do we have to talk to about what happened on the west side? They were like, go see P-Ray. I met this woman. I took her to MacArthur's. We ate our soul food. I told her, now be quiet and listen to everybody talking around you. Everybody's still pissed off about the basements. So you can hear people like, man, Joe, FEMA only gave me like $6,000. I had da-da-da-da-da. I mean, she's like, man, people over here mad. I'm like, yeah, so come help us. So I pulled together these community leaders, all the people that were running the big non-for-profits, the stakeholders, all the big people. I got on my phone like, okay, y'all, we got to have a meeting now. FEMA here. They want to see you now. So I had this meeting. And they told the FEMA lady, like, yo, the only reason we here is because she here. Like, if you would have called us, we not coming. But if she say come, we come. So they come, FEMA comes, they tell them what we need, and then boom, $640 million fall out of the sky for the west side of Chicago. So that's another win for Chicago Red. Clap it up for Chicago Red. But in real life,
Yeah, but did y'all see any of that money for your organization?
I don't know. So based on no, let me go back. So the checks have not been cut. That's the first thing. Because when you're managing that much money, it becomes a question of who manages the money. Where does it fall? Who gets to bank the money? That's how I look at it as a banker. Who banks the money? But that's not financial advice, by the way. But I don't know who's banking. I don't know who's cutting the checks. All I know is that the money is coming here. That bond money, when the bond clears, that money is going to non-for-profits. And so that puts people like me in a very precarious situation, because one thing that one of the community leaders told me, when I'm like, cut me in on the money. I got a finance degree, I speak Spanish, I speak French, I got these business skills, I'm a literacy coach. They were like, well, P. Ray, we don't know, you are a girl, but you be on Fox News talking that Trump stuff, and I don't know how they gonna like that, and I don't know how it's gonna go. And I'm like, what? But
So wait, so hold on for a second. So basically, you are basically alienated from the so-called in circle because of your political affiliation with the Republican Party.
I'm in the circle. That's the thing. I'm in it. They can't alienate me. They cannot. Every room I go in, every meeting roundtable they have, I'm going, and I'm gonna sit
No,
down.
no,
I'm
no.
gonna pull up a seat.
Wait, one
But
second. That's not what I'm talking about. One second. That's not what I'm talking about. You could be in the room, but if you're not walking away with a piece of the action, or if you don't have, any grants money coming in, or if people are making it hard for you, to do certain things, just like today with the church, okay, we gotta, I'm gonna push you out because I'm bringing this in because we got a nonprofit and they got money or whatever. I'm talking about that because at the end of the day, when it comes to politics, you need money and you need power. And you need to be affiliated with a group that has those things that you could benefit from. But you're with the Republicans, your district is Democrat. That's what I
correct.
mean.
Oh, yes, ma'am. That's exactly what it is. But again, because I have these very personal relationships with people, it's very difficult for them to be like, no, because they're like, no, we know that you're not trying to hurt us. You're not trying to sell us out. You believe that you are helping in your own way, and you are. And that's what they say too. We appreciate what you're doing. You are saying the things that we can't say. You have a eye for this because you've been looking at this for a very long time. But the powers that be, will be like, whoa, that's why I go by P. Ray and not my name, because my mother and I have the same first name, and she don't want none of that to get mixed up in this world. This is serious. This is some serious business. But it's okay because we're winning. We got to keep going. And even with the people who are participating in the windfall, they still got my back, but I think it's not going to be as overt as it was before.
So I wanted to bring this up. I had mentioned this to you earlier. Mayor Johnson takes campaign cash from lawyer whose firm has pending lawsuits against City Hall. So he's taking campaign funds from the same person that's suing City Hall, suing him basically. He's City Hall, the face of City Hall.
Well, he couldn't. When they say things like that, the politician in me says that he didn't hand Brandon that money. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't like, here, Brandon. No, he donated to the campaign. Now, when you have these organizations, you have to submit what are called D2s. And the D2s talk about how you're spending the money. So somebody could have pulled Brandon's D2, saw that this guy donated, and said, oh, this man's suing the city, and he gave money to Brandon. So that's me thinking at my highest level, right? Because we want to think the best of people. But if I put on my Chicago politician brain, that is a way also for that guy to say, hey, I am suing the city, no, remember my name, if it comes up in a budget meeting, approve my settlement. But the way that the city council approves settlements, I don't think that that would be a necessary thing for that guy to do.
It just sounds messy. But I also want to bring this up right here. It says U.S. Department of Labor canceled $577 million savings, including for gender equality Mexican workplace, 12.2 million worker empowerment in South America, 6.25 million for improving respect for workers' rights in agriculture supply in Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador, 5 million for elevating women's participation in the workplace in West Africa, 4.3 million for assisting foreign migrant workers in Malaysia, 3 million to enhance social security access and worker protection for internal migrant workers in Bangladesh, 3 million for a safe and inclusion work environment in Lesotho. So I bring that to your attention because we have been talking. This is how I met you through the illegal migrant crisis that was going on in Chicago and throughout this nation. And you also mentioned that, Chicago would have a partnership with teachers down in South America. But there's a lot of money here that Doge uncovered that they were sending millions and billions of dollars to a lot of these countries where these illegals were coming from. So I just wanted to get any thoughts you may have on that.
Um, there are a lot of pieces that go into looking at the USAID situation. A lot of that money is used for implementing democracy in these spaces, meaning that they're funding rebel groups. For instance, they found this guy in Minnesota who was getting all of this money for a food program, but he was actually a leader in the Somalian militia that's currently fighting the Somali government. And he had funneled like millions and millions and millions of dollars to this group through his food organization. So I think that the United States of America has been very complicit in doing this. USAID has been kind of a shadow paramilitary fund that we've been using to kind of have our way around the world. However, I'll say in the same breath that one of my things is that I wanted to get a USAID contract in Senegal, because y'all know I love Dakar, specifically working with gender violence. In Senegal, if a woman is beat by a man, she has to go to the clinic and get a medical certificate in order to file a police report. That medical certificate is $50. So it costs $50 to report somebody abusing you. So I wanted to get a USAID contract to have a program that pays for those medical certificates and pays for DNA and rape kits. So that was my USAID project, but they're cut all the money, so they probably won't be doing it. But my project wouldn't have been a paramilitary thing unless they tried to say like, oh, I'm trying to do feminism to like throw off the family balance, whatever. But people don't deserve to be beat. I say that to say that all that money coming back, all that money's coming back to us. I think that they're very serious about cutting us some Doge checks because the economy is not doing as well as we thought it would be by this time. People aren't working. So I think some checks are coming. So if we got to leave the Listoso gender people in the workplace alone, that's fine because we need that money right here on the west side of Chicago.
Mm-hmm. P-Ray, I always love having you come on. Actually, I like this setup better. I I like this setup better. You could put a little backdrop in the background or whatever, and I think it's more convenient because you're at home. But I love it when you come on. I'm gonna talk to you off camera about some things because sometimes you just gotta switch it up. You just gotta switch it up, and sometimes you gotta switch things up to recalculate, regroup, and then come back and hit people over the head. But I think it's at a point right now what you and others, because you didn't do it alone, you and others have been doing, pushing the awareness of what was going on in Chicago with the illegal migrants and other local resolutions and public policies that you guys needed. You did a lot. I think you did enough. And I think right now it's just time to switch it up a little bit. And we briefly talked about that before. We could talk about it definitely offline. But I think that you've done your job and now it's just time to elevate at a higher level. You get what I'm saying? Because I don't want to sit. I'm not going to go in details to because we talked about it briefly, but I'm not going to go in details. But I'm just saying it's time to just switch it up.
And I get it. And the thing is, even with me being here, this house is held in a trust. So in order for us to move, like insurance is going to fix it, but we have to find somewhere to go for 4 months. And so I'm here. I got my daughter. We have this apartment. But then underneath me is my uncle and my cousin. So I have 3 adults. My uncle has Parkinson's and a teenager, right? And I need somebody to rent to us for 4 months while we get our house revamped. And that's very difficult to do in the Chicago housing market. But we found somebody, praise God, that is going to let us stay in their spot. So we're going to be moving out of here very quickly. And then I'm going to have a whole new house by my birthday in October. So hopefully you can come visit me in Chicago and check it out for yourself. Because we have a ball here. And we got a lot of crazy political stuff, but we have a ball on the west side of Chicago. And I think you would enjoy yourself.
When is your birthday?
October 2nd. I'm a lucky Libra.
Me too. Mine's October 7th.
Oh, see, that's how we get along. Yes.
All right. So great. Listen. Well, in the meantime, like I said, I'll talk to you off air. But as always, I really appreciate you always coming up here, dropping the information, the knowledge, the facts. And I just think, it's more to come. I just think, and even for me too, it's just time to switch it up. It's just time to switch it up because we're in a golden age and we need to start acting like it. All politicians, I don't care. They're all liars. I don't trust anybody. I will say this part, I told you, stop being nice, stop trusting people, stop thinking, oh, this person, it doesn't matter whether they're nice or not. They're all liars. Don't trust anybody. And, just do the work, have an agenda. And it's all about money. Like I always tell people, just get to the bag, because people will try to use and abuse you. So yeah. But thank you, P-Ray.
You're welcome. Anytime. See y'all.
Dana with the data. Dana with the data.